Hi, everyone. Happy, cozy Sunday morning. And to celebrate the day, I thought I would come on and share this coloring page with you that I created and is available in my Etsy shop for $1 if you would like to color along with me. This also makes a really, really nice card if you would like to send this to a friend just for any occasion, just to say hello or hope you're doing well, or, just to send a message to relax a little bit. I think this scene is perfect for that. So, what we're going to do is we have a little Sunday morning scene here. So, we have a desk that is in front of a window, and we're going to draw in the window scene in a bit. It's going to be a cool and snowy morning, and our little person here who has set up the desk is she has a book open and she has a basket of her favorite muffins, and she's already dug into one of the muffins as you see on the side there. And then she has a nice hot cup of tea in her reading glasses next to her, as well as a bunch of other books to dig into once she finishes the one in front of her. So it's just setting up the idea that this is going to be a nice, relaxing morning, just filled with lots of reading and solitude and warm beverages and yummy snacks. And isn't that just the perfect way to spend a quiet Sunday morning? So I added in the base for the desk area. I just used some E43, but any light to mid-tone brown that you have would work perfectly, or whatever color you want to make your desk is fine there. The wall, I thought it would be nice to have like a pinkish wall here, so I'm just adding in a base of RV32. At the end of the video, you'll see I changed that a little bit. I just thought the scene needed a little more contrast, so we're going to make it like a darker purple in the end, but this works fine for now. And then around the windowsills, I wanted them to be white windows. So I'm just adding a tiny little bit of shading around the edges with some warm gray here. And then I'm just going to take a little colorless blender and fix that line there. So one good thing with Copic markers, if you make a mistake and you catch it right away, you can take your colorless blender to try to blend it out. And then around the inside of the window frames, I'm just blending out that warm gray with my colorless blender as well. It's also good for blending. It's good for fixing mistakes. And for our window, so I want it to look like there's a little bit of snow around the window ledges. So I'm going to have my sky start, I'm going to draw in my sky in like a U shape, so that we leave that negative space so we can create the illusion of snow. And we'll add some definition to that in a little bit. But for now, I just want to kind of mark out the area where I want my snow and my sky to be showing through in the window. So I'm using a B21 here, and you can use any of the blues that you have. You could also use gray if you want it to be more of a gray morning. And then for my darker tone, I'm going to add that around the edges of the window, and I'm going to use B34 for that, and then just blend it in with the B21. And at the very end, we'll add in the snow. We're just kind of marking out where the sky is for now. And the two shades I'm using again are this B34, which is a real pretty cool blue, and then the B21, which is a lighter cool blue. And I just kind of blend them both together. And you don't need your blending to be perfect here. It actually is nice if there's a little bit of where the lines are not so blended, because it's going to help to make it look like maybe there's some condensation on the window. And we're going to go ahead and color in a whole bunch of snow in a little bit anyway. So you just want to get a general feeling that it's blue outside. And then we'll go ahead and start working on the wall a little bit. So I'm just adding in a little bit of shading there with some darker pinks. And then for our teacup, we're going to have a little peach teacup. So I'm using R20. You can make your teacup whatever color you like. Maybe you can make it in the color of what your actual teacup is if you want to imagine that this scene is for you. One fun thing to do is if you are going to sit down and color the scene, you can kind of set up a similar setup for yourself, get your little cup of tea all together and maybe a little snack, and then put on, your favorite podcast or whatever music you like to listen to, and then just, go ahead and get to work coloring. I think the most fun part of coloring here was making these little muffins. So we're going to add E31 for the crust of the muffin, just to make it look like it's nice and toasty. And then for the ribbon, we're going to use RV34, which is the same color that we're using for the wall. And then for our tea, I used E55 light camel, which is, I think, a nice color for tea, and then some E25 around the edges. So I'm making chocolate chip muffins here. You could also make blueberry muffins or maybe cranberry muffins, whatever kind of muffin you like, but mine are chocolate. So I used E25 for the chocolate chips for the first coat. And then we'll darken up our bow with some RV69, just like around the edges there. I'm leaving the center of the bow very light so that it pops out. For the teacup, for the little tag on the teacup, I just used some cool gray there. And then I'm just dotting in some E29 on top of the chocolate chips, just so that we have a little bit of variation in color on the chips, a little bit of interest so they pop off the page. I'm dotting on some color with E55. And the way that we're going to shade in the muffins going forward is by just adding dots of color, and that's going to help it make it look like there's all those little nooks and crannies in the muffin itself. And then we'll darken up some of the nooks and crannies with some E57. So every time that I go in with a darker marker, I'm going to fill in less area and I'm going to concentrate it more in one section, just so that we start to get the little nooks and crannies to start popping there. Using some E44 for the shadow, and then some E49 around the very edges and on the tops of the chocolate chips there, just to darken them up a little bit more. And you'll see the contrast now between the light and the dark. It's what's really making the muffins kind of come to life and start to pop. So we're going to add some little dots of E55. I'm making sure that I leave the top part of the muffins pretty light, just so that we have some different variation in color going on. For the basket, I'm using E44 to just kind of sketch in the woven texture of the basket. And jittery movements work really, really good here, just to help make it look like it's, a woven basket. And then we'll add some E47 right underneath the rim of the basket and at the base of the basket. And then just tiny bit of that same on the corners, just to make the basket look rounded. And then just blending it in with the E55. And then for our little muffin covers, or I don't know, the word escapes me right now, but for the little piece of foil around the muffin, I'm just using some toner grays to make it look like it's a little metallic. And then just adding a little bit more shadow on that muffin in the front with the E57. And then for this book that is open, we're going to use YG93. I think a brown would also work nice here. I guess, just look at your bookshelf, and whatever colors you see there, you could use here. And then at the end, we're going to go ahead and add some titles to the books, just to personalize the scene a little bit. That was another one of my favorite parts of this video, was just adding those little personalized elements at the end. We're going to have a little purple book. So I'm using V28 and V25 there. And then for this book on the bottom, I thought it'd be nice to have like a leather bound book. So I'm starting with a base of E15. And then we're going to move to some E19 for the darker shade, just focusing it around the edges and like right underneath where the purple book is sitting. And I think just having those little stripes of color just helps it look like it's a rough and worn leather book cover. We'll use some E59 and then blend it out with some E15. And then for this top book, I'm adding a base of R24. Not sure what I was thinking here. I don't know that the red works so much, and I think I realized that quickly. So then we're going to try to make it a little bit more close to pink. So we're going to use some R85 and then some RV99, which is a real nice dark plum shade. And then for the pages, I'm using some C5 right underneath the top of the page and around the edges. And then we'll just add some strips of color to add in the pages behind it, just with that same cool gray marker. And then we can darken up some of the areas with C7. Sorry, my hand's in the way. It's just the way I draw, or the way that I color. And then around the edges of the page here, I just use some C1. And then just we'll blend it inwards with some C0. And now we can get back to the area around the window ledge. So I'm just darkening up the little white shadows with some warm gray 7 there, just to make the snow really pop against the windowsill. So it's not just white on white. We have a little bit of darkness there as well to help define the window frame. And now this is where I realized I'm like, we need the wall to be a different color. So I'm taking my BV29 and I'm just going to color over almost all the wall, but I'm going to leave a little bit of a pink glow around the muffins. So I thought that this ended up working really, really nicely here. And then we'll just darken up the edges with that RV34. And then for the glasses, I'm using C8 as the base. So they're going to look like they're little black reading glasses. And then I used a little B60 around in the lens area just to make it look like there's a little bit of a glass reflection, and then just some B63 in the corners just to make a bigger reflection. And then for our little drape in the corner, I'm using R85 and then some RV99. And then I'm just going to make some wavy lines to make it look like there are just generally some wrinkles in the curtain. I could have spent more time on this one, but at this point, again, when I hit like the 20-minute mark with coloring, I start to get a little bored, and I just want to start finishing things up. So I think that's where I was at this point. And now for the wood green, I just took some E74, and then I'm going to just add in that color along the edges and leave some little strips of color just so that it looks like we have just some texture, a little bit of a hint of wood texture. And then I'll darken up that texture in the front with an E77, and then just let it get lighter as it gets close to the window, because that's what's farther away from us. And now we're going to darken up the sky even more with a B97. I just thought that the darker blue there would make the snow kind of pop even more when we add it. And again, you can be a little bit rough with your coloring here. Just be sure to leave the white of the snow. And then I'm taking my white gel pen. This is a Signo Uniball gel pen, and I'm just adding in little flecks of color, making sure to vary the size and shape of the little flecks of white there so that it just looks like it's real blizzardy outside. And I'm just dotting the color in. You could also, if you want your snowflakes to be more rounded, you could just make them dots, but I just wanted it to look like a whole mass of all different sizes and shapes of snow. So that's what I'm doing there. And should you have colored in some of the little snow that's on the ledge on accident with your sky, you can go over it with a white gel pen it might not look as good as if you just left it negative space, but it still is a fix. And then I added some accents to the chocolate chips, just a little dot of color in the center to make them, to set them off a bit. And then we'll add some text into this book here. So I'm just adding some curved little scribbles to follow the shape of the pages and the way the pages are laying, just to make it look like there's some text in there. I guess she's reading a handwritten book. Maybe she's looking over her journal from the past year. And then we can go ahead and start naming our book. So I just use some of my favorite types of topics here. So I love reading love poems. I love watercoloring. So I had one book be called Watercolors. We'll have a book on the bottom that this one is going to say astrology, and part of the words are cut off because it's covered by the other book. And then our little top book, we will call that one baking. So that's another passion of mine. So you can add your favorite book titles there, or just your favorite topics, or if this is a gift for someone, you can add in their favorites. And then we'll peel off the tape, and then that is going to finish up our scene, everyone. So here is our cozy Sunday morning Copic coloring, a little painting. If you would like to color along with me, be sure to pick up the digital download in my Etsy shop for $1, and then grab your Copics, come back to this video, and we can color it together. Have a great day, and I will see you again soon in another video. I hope you have a wonderful day.